right, guys, welcome back. Today, we're actually going to be covering more of our strategic process. Before we do that, D, how are you doing?
It's been a week of pain, bro. You know, it's pills over here and pills over there. One thing I can say that it's a turning 40 thing, but it's not. Just I've had gout since I was like 23. I thought it was a fracture after a Thai boxing fight. Turned out to be gout. I got gout in my elbow. I got crutches like off camera.
Okay, I actually don't know. How does someone get gout? Is that
so? Anyone can get gout. I love how this has turned into a medical podcast. Anyone can get gout if they try hard enough. All gout is this: when your body has a surplus of uric acid because your liver or kidney, I can't remember. Someone in the comments, please let me know. When your liver or kidney can't process it fast enough, uric acid, urine, right? Yeah. So when that organ can't process it fast enough, what happens is the uric acid crystallizes in your joints. So those crystals start piercing your joints. And that's what causes I got a grapefruit elbow. Well, it's getting better now. Anyway, I'm hyperuricemic. So what that means was, thanks, mom and dad, I have a subnormal liver, kidney, one of them, kidney. Hence kidney stones. I have a subnormal kidney that can't process uric acid like regular people. So, for example, for someone to get gout, for you to have gout, for example, you probably have to cram your face with steak every 30 minutes and have a red wine with it every 15 minutes. And your uric acid is going to soar through the roof and you're going to get gout because your kidney just
certain foods
I can't keep up. Yeah.
That tend to create that more than others?
So seafood, anything tasty. Seafood.
Oh, dang.
Red meats. So venison, beef, pork, all that. Alcohol, wine, which falls under alcohol, right? So high purine type foods. Salmon, which falls under seafood.
I'd be screwed.
Right.
What do you eat then?
So,
eating meat?
Or anything that any diuretic. So green tea. So I'm hyperuricemic, which means I'm super sensitive to that stuff. If I have like a salmon for dinner and I happen to have tea after dinner, diuretic, and I probably get like the gouty senses start tingling. It's yeah. So it ain't fun. Don't get gout, kids. Stay away from gout. 1 out of 5 stars would not recommend.
So just to cap it off, what can someone do to prevent it? Just avoiding certain foods?
Well, if you're hyperuricemic, just be a vegan, pretty much, or suffer the consequences. If you're a regular person, don't even worry about it. You're fine.
Okay.
You're fine.
So I'm 35 now. I'm guessing I'm probably fine. Would you probably say that?
It's not even an age thing. It really is not even. Yeah, it's not even an age thing. It's hereditary, to my understanding. If you're hyperuricemic.
Okay, so if you've got good genes and good parents, you're probably okay.
Yeah, exactly.
So what we're going to do today, D, is we're actually going to continue with what are the steps that we take every time a brand comes to us, just for us to see what can we do to actually help them. So it's a bit of the pulling back the curtain. We did that last time. We're going to continue that today. It's so funny because literally yesterday I hopped on a call with a brand that we just did this with. And I hear this all the time. And they said, we've never met anyone that goes into the level of detail you guys go into. And that's going to be a great segue into what we do. So last time, just kind of a recap, we went through what the different analysis we look at. We looked at the audit section for Meta, for Google, for retention, whatever that we're taking over as a channel. So what we're going to do now is I want to show you 2 more important quantitative parts, and then we're going to dive into the creative part, which is often what a lot of people like the most. Continuing on, every brand that wants to work with us, one of the things that we do is we look at their historical analysis. This is important because history is an amazing predictor of future success and future trends. Part of that is we try to go back 3 years at least if they have that data, so we can see, number one, where's the majority of their revenue coming from, what quarters, and also year over year, are things getting better or are they getting worse? And we like data tables if you haven't noticed yet. And part of that is we like to see it per month again year over year, because this gives us really great trends of, okay, for example, this brand, Q4, like most e-com brands, is where they make a lot of their money. Great. Well, Q4, what's the percentage increase been happening year over year? Because typically that is a trend we can expect for this Q4 when we set targets. Okay, if they're up 50% over a year, they're up 50%. Okay, then we hope to be 50% up this year as well.
Yeah, for sure. If like assuming everything stays constant, we can already go, well, that based off of that trend line, what is it also starts a really good conversation around, like, is there going to be lift from this year, or, you know, since now that we're working together, what does that look like too, right?
Yeah, and I really like looking at it per quarter, especially for cash flow reasons. This brand is actually pretty rare where they have very consistent revenue through all quarters, but a lot of our other brands aren't so lucky with their business and their niche, where they may have massive swings where bigger proportions of their revenue the last 3 years falls on certain quarters. Why I like that is because then it tells us we're going into a bad season. And the last 3 years, it's always been this way. It's really hard to fight against the headwinds of seasonality. Or we're coming into a great season. Cool, let's ramp up the old engine, just maximize profit or whatever we want to do.
Yeah, for sure. Swimwear, classic.
Oh, yeah. Swimwear, stuff that's predominantly cold, jackets, sweaters. We sell hoodies as a fashion brand. Same thing. And then we have the percentage change year over year, again, for us to see how are things trending at the moment, essentially. So
and by the way,
I want to show you
the reason why, before you move on to the next tab, the reason why this is helpful for that we're sharing this rather is so that anyone watching this can actually just like do the same. Because all you got to do really is just go into your e-commerce platform. I mean, Shopify, for example, and just pull the sales report out and be able to just break it down this way and just do comparison analysis, put it into a Google Sheet, and then you can already have some visibility into your numbers that you might not have interpolated that data like this before.
And to add on to that, we don't do this typically pre-working with the brand because we're going so deep, but what we like to do post-working with the brand is actually, instead of doing top-line revenue, now go into profit or contribution profit. So now you can see, okay, what months and quarters actually created more marginal upside or downside for us.
Yeah.
And you can do the same thing per product line over the last 3 years. So you can get really detailed and deep with this stuff, but this is like a great starting point.
Nice.
Okay, now this actually is a really great time because people always ask, okay, what do you do with this? How is this actually helpful? Because once we know the historical trends, because like I said in the beginning, historical performance is an amazing predictor, is we actually go into how do we predict revenue? How do we forecast revenue? Another tool that we use working with brands is, it's going to sound nerdy, but it's a cohort forecasting tool. If you use Shopify, there's a default report where you can have a customer cohort. Now, a cohort is just a subset of data, or in this case, customer base, for you to see what has their lifeline been like, or their lifetime been like. Meaning, when do they buy from us the first time, and when do they buy from us again? So you can do it first-time customers. You can do customers who bought a specific product or use a specific promo code. And how, I don't know if I need to go into detail how you read a cohort, but essentially how it works is here, people who bought in November, to these 10,000 people, 7% bought within 30 days. And then from days 31 to 60, 6% of that 10% bought. And then 4%, and it just shows month over month over month how many bought for as long as a period as you want. Why this is helpful is because then using this tool, we get to see over the last 1 year, 2 years, however long you do it, what's the percentage we can expect those new customers to buy from us. And then using this table, what we do is then we plot out in the future, and this is the blue, what is the expected customers who are going to buy from us again over the last 12 months. So for example, all these people, what's the forecasted percentage of people who are going to buy from us again, so that we can actually see in the future, 6 months or 12 months, what is our projected revenue? And then what we do based off of our targets, we apply what is our new customer targets, and then it'll actually forecast what is that revenue going to look like in the future.
Yeah, and again, same thing. I wonder how many people would go like, okay, this is great, you nerd. Like, how does this actually help me?
It is really nerdy. It was really hard to put together.
If I can get you to scroll up to where the cohort analysis graph was
at the top.
Yeah, that one with there we go. The helpful thing about cohort analysis is being able to then look against that month and against also what types of messaging campaigns, like what changes were made by looking back in history to then go, well, did that change make did that change actualize what we expected to happen or not? Right. Then there can be some learnings. So based off of whether messaging, like whether a completely new awareness stage messaging was starting to go out to them, for example, did that bring on a change? Or if the email flows really started to make a difference, or if the product, especially if you're selling, I don't know, consumables, like for, I don't know, like a dandruff shampoo or like anything where it's someone using it and then liking the efficacy of it or the smell of it or the look of it or whatever and going, I ran out, I'm going to come back and buy more. And now you've got, if you change your product to see whether that trend is going in the positive direction or not by looking back that way, just because of the fact that a fair bit of, there are some activities that allow for very short feedback loops. And then there are certain activities that take longer to actually see a feedback loop, right? And to be able to make decisions off of whatever feedback comes back. So I think that's where it becomes super helpful as a way to look back in the past, like you said, to then go, well, based off of this, what is causing this and what can we change so that we start seeing positive change?
You brought up a great point. This raw data is actually a real brand, by the way. And so funny because we've done this cohort for them going back 3 years because that's how long we work with them. And we've noticed that their percentage of people who buy after the first purchase has gone up incrementally every single year as they have increased the quality of their product, launched more products, got more dialed in with their creative strategy in their customer base. Like it's gotten better incrementally. And you're exactly right. You want to see this get better as you get better or as you introduce some kind of additional product that maybe becomes a breakthrough to get more people to come back.
Yeah. And if you made a product change, like a fundamental product change, like you changed an ingredient of your protein shake, for example, and you start seeing your month 2, 3, 4 start to decline, that's also a clue as well to then go. And this is why, just much in the same way in Google Analytics, you can timestamp a certain point in time and put comments and notes in there to say this website change or this thing occurred to see what happens after that fact and remember that change. That's where it becomes important too, to then at least within your company have some type of documentation so that you're not like, when did we make that change again? Like have to call your supplier or have to like call, the person that used to work for you because they left and went to another company and be like, hey, when did we decide, hi, long time no see, but when did we decide for this thing to happen? Because I'm looking at my cohort analysis and I can't remember when we actually changed our ingredient or changed our supplier or changed the fabric that we used. Right.
It's funny you say that because it really paints a great picture that, and why I like this really is because it sets really clear targets for our team as well as the brands we work with, because brands that come to us, as you know, they say, hey, I'm doing 300K a month. I want to do $1 million a month. Okay, cool. Well, then let's forecast in the future. That difference between 300K to $1 million are the number of new customers we have to acquire, and returning customers, if that's on you, you have to get back. So it makes it very clean and clear of like how to set targets and who owns what. But also, it's really fresh in my mind. There's a hair care brand we work with, and Luke on our team, he did all podcast episodes of scaling paid social ads. A brand we're trying to march towards a really great goal, and we showed that the massive difference between new customers returning was getting wider, which is a problem, which shows their returning customer rate problem. And so using this tool, we can like show a multiplier of, hey, if we can change the pattern that we get people to come back, what will just a 10% increase in returning customer rate do, or 15%? And it just shows how much of a margin that really is. And that's why I like this tool, because it makes it really clear, okay, we've got to fix this problem, or here are the targets, or really the new customers we have to acquire every single month to hit that goal, and by what timeline.
Yes.
So this is a really great tool for that reason. This is probably my favorite tool that we have. Okay, so what I want to do next, I'm going to transition to the creative strategy. So if you guys have watched the last two episodes, this one, last one, and this one, this is just the quantitative things that we do just if a brand wants to work with us, so that we fully understand their business, we fully understand the opportunities, and they fully understand the strategy. What I'm going to introduce now is the qualitative or the creative side, which is where a lot of our design team comes into play, where people have a lot of fun. So this is our creative strategy deck that we do for brands that want to work with us. So
you're still on the nerdy slide. I know you love it a lot, but you're still on the nerdy slide.
I know, that's my bad. So in the creative strategy deck, what we do is we like to explain how do we work, what's our unique mechanisms and our unique methods. So part of that is we think, especially for videos, in terms of creative bricks. Now, you and I know what that is, but Dee, why don't you explain what creative bricks are?
Yeah, do you mind, before we go in there, do you mind punching in or doing like a presentation version? Just because I think if people are viewing this, it might be super small. Yeah, great. Awesome. What's the best TLDR way to put this so that I don't come across like an absolute nerd? Think about these like Legos, right? And then you can start to figure out the sequence of the Lego bricks, Lego blocks, and to then be able to craft the piece of creative. So as you can see in here, what Ray has up, you've got what is the hook? What is the problem statement? And not so much in a literal sense, but because we're talking about creative, how do you inspire the feeling or show, right, the problem? Sometimes the hook and the problem can actually be merged together into one, like we showed previously in one of her, when we showcased one ad where the hook and the problem are actually put together because it's such a massive problem, and the visual was really grabby as well. And then based off of that, what other pieces? You don't have to put all of these in there. That's not the point. The point is to at least identify what these bricks are and then be able to plug each brick into the piece of creative. That wasn't even one line. I tried as much as possible. Sorry, guys. We can go like there's so much you can do here. There are, like this in itself is such a useful tool because it offers up a sandbox, like a playground almost, for a creative strategist to really come and go, okay, in a really simple form, great for training also, if you want to hand this to your marketer in-house. Really great training also, especially if you're grooming them and they're just a social media assistant or something, because it's broken down into really easily explainable bricks. It's not this abstract thing where it's like tell a story or bring them through a narrative, or there's a hero and a guide and your customer's a hero. Like it's just really plain as day.
Yeah, that's why I like creative bricks, because it kind of demystifies making ads that convert and scale. Because when you see an ad, you think you understand it, but when you try to recreate, you're like, what the heck? Like, I don't know how to do it. But when you really understand that it's just Legos building blocks that made it, oh, I can do that. It's this scene for 3 seconds, I show this and say this. The next scene, I say this and show this. Yeah. Yeah,
exactly. And I love how it also differentiates, right? What I mean by differentiates, if you look on the first column, it says solution. And then you look in the second column, it says features and benefits, because those three are not the same. It's so easy for people to fall into that trap where it's like, oh, the solution, let me talk to you about the features. It's like that's not the solution. These are just things like it guess what, guys? This phone is the most amazing phone ever. It has a volume up button and a volume down button and an off button. It's like, those are features. They're not benefits. They're not solutions, right? So because so many, and we see this in advertising and marketing all the time, anyone can, especially in tech or in computers or in any type of hardware, where those marketers tend to talk features more than benefits or solutions, because they're so entrenched. Like, it's almost like the engineering team wrote it. It's like, we're so in love with these features that we have to tell the whole world about all the features, but kind of neglect the benefits.
Yeah. Or if I was a founder who is adamant to talk about the features because I invested so much money in the R&D of this feature.
Yeah, exactly.
But people don't really care. It's so funny because our team, we often say benefits sell, features tell. And also, as we're talking about in a few moments on the creative strategy pieces, there's specific times when you want to use feature over benefits or benefits over features. Specific strategic reasons. And I find that's where a lot of people just don't understand those reasons. And that's why they just go with features.
Yeah.
So we use creative breaks when we make video. Now, we've talked about this a lot over the last 20-something episodes that we've done, but this is a really great opportunity where we like to explain our process. So I'm not going to go through it because we've already gone through this several times, but we're in a 2-week sprint cycle, and this is a great way of just explaining how we work with our brands so they know what to expect. So they know every 2 weeks, I'm going to get a crap ton batch of creative from working with RightHook, and I have to review it, and they're going to tell me why they're making that creative. And then also every 2 weeks, I'm going to get a creative report so I know what creative worked last time and that inform their decisions on the new creative. It's just that cycle. And this is our cycle internally of how we do this. Then we get into kind of how do we come up with these concepts. This is an important part because internally, we don't just randomly make stuff. That's far from the truth. What we like to do is we like to theme our sprints. For example, it's a creative constraint that helps, meaning I can make an infinite amount of ads, creatives, and ideas, but it helps to theme what does the account need. So for example, because we really care about creative diversity, we may look at all the ads we're running and say, hey, this account needs more customer-generated content. So we're going to theme this next sprint to make a lot of customer-generated content. So that means, okay, let's now ideate what kind of customer-generated content. What angles, what positioning do we need? Let's prioritize getting these assets, these videos from customers, these images. Let's brief it out if we're going to make like a storyboard from it, for example, and then let's design it and let's send it to the brand for approval, and then let's launch it and test it. Yeah,
it's interesting. It's always, I mean, it's too nerdy to talk about really for people that when you're in it and you're presenting this to a client or to a brand, but really what I like about our approach here is the fact that even though it's creative, we're still applying or staying as close to the scientific method as possible, right? With a sprint theme, it still has to be hypothesis based. And then for us to be able to then look back, hence the cohort analysis part, or being able to analyze performance to then go, well, this is the hypothesis. Let's put the plan together. Let's start to test that hypothesis and then see whether that hypothesis yields the outcomes that we hypothesize or not. And then based off of that, take those learnings and then go again into the next sprint theme, the next hypothesis, right? It's such a structured way to do it rather than guess.
It's so funny about the hypothesis. I'm happy you brought that up because I didn't bring it up. Is if by the end of a sprint and launching ads and then seeing how they performed, if you can't have some way of looking back on why did I make this ad to begin with, what was my thinking back then, you didn't actually learn anything. You're just randomly doing crap. And you can talk more about the PDCA than anyone else. Like, it's so critical.
Yeah, exactly. PDCA, without getting, again, I'm trying not to get like over nerdy because I could PDCA for like talk about that for like 60 minutes.
I'm gonna get you a t-shirt. PDCA
Right, exactly, which would confuse the shit out of people. Is that a periodic table? What is that? PDCA is a cycle: plan, do, check in, and then adjust. That's all it is. It's just a way to learn from doing things so that you don't end up like, I mean, ideally we are smarter than Roomba or, you know, robot vacuum cleaners, right? But if you're, it just minimizes going into that same wall, hitting it and being like, boop, error, trying again, boop, error, trying again, boop, error. Something's not right here, but let's try again, boop, error. Point being, if you, what is the plan? Okay, after we've done the planning, what is the hypothesis? Let's do it. And then after we do it, or while we're doing it, let's check to see whether the doing meets the plan. And then based off of that check, let's adjust for the next plan, which then we do, and then we check the doing against the plan, and then we adjust. And so there's constant adjustment, just so that when the robots come and try to kill us, we at least have some accelerated rate of learning, because most people are just like, guess, nope, guess, nope. And it's a bit painful to watch.
The worst part, especially with marketers, especially if you like to move fast and test a lot of things, I've seen this happen painfully many times where they will literally test something they tested a couple months ago, not because they have a reason that, hey, I want to back test it, that's okay, but because they forgot they already tested and they forgot what the results were.
Yeah. I have a name for that. I call it the busyness amnesia. Like, you're so frantic and you're so busy doing things. I got to keep doing things because all eyes are on me and I got to keep doing things. So, and then you end up at that same spot, not knowing that you're at that spot, forgetting that you were at that spot, and then treating it like it's the first time you were at that spot.
Yes, that's even worse.
Right? So it's the Memento movie. It's Chris Nolan, like, you know what I mean? It's just like, wait a second. You've been here and you're taking the same exact approach. And then if you just remember that you were here, life could actually look quite different right now.
So that's a bit about how we go through this unique process of how we make creative. Now, the next part is where when a brand, again, this is all before we work together on an ongoing basis so that we can make sure we understand their brand, and they can also almost trial run our team as well. And this is where we actually just make ad concepts. Now, these aren't the finalized versions. It's just to show the brand, here's the kind of conceptual thinking and reasons and the direction we want to take this brand. Now let's collaborate on it. Obviously, we'll tweak things as we get feedback from you.
To start the conversation, which is exciting.
Yeah. And part of that is just how we think about positioning. We don't have time to go through this, but there's so many different ways that you can position a product. Everyone's tired of me talking about this, but like, again, this productivity timer that I fell into, that I still talk about, take one product, you can reposition in different ways to unlock a new market. These are the ways of how we think about unlocking results by positioning. Now we get into the creative part. So we'd like to make different statics, different videos, different GIFs, again, to conceptually show and talk through why we did it, what angles are we choosing, what positioning are we choosing, because that's all important too. The why behind something probably matters more than the output, in my opinion, because that's where you get the learnings from. And then we'll make statics, different ways, different, this is actually a carousel in a video as well. So we're gonna make a script, and this is actually a carousel as well. Kind of same thing as well, showing the conceptual direction we wanna take the brand. These are some videos. Should I play the videos?
Why not?
Yeah. Yeah, so we're showing different ways that we can execute creative. For example, what's really cool about this one is this is all just using statics and stills, but we can obviously storyboard, make a video from it just using statics, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, totally. Whoa, everything's playing at the same time.
Yeah, when I click it, it keeps playing. Then for each of the creatives, we like to talk about the copy, and now we get into exactly how would the ad look, how would we run it, what's the strategy behind it. I'm going to skip through these. And then particularly when it comes to the videos, this is where we bring back the creative bricks that we talked about earlier, where now we show why did we stack up this video the way it is, because it's not done by accident. There's specific reasons why we do it. Part of those reasons are we've literally been in similar niches and we know the creative that worked for them last time, or because we've done some research that informs us this is the right way to structure this video. And this is just showing the creative bricks that we follow. Same thing with that video. Again, what are the creative bricks that we're using in the copy, in the storyboard to create that piece? And then because this brand, we're also doing Google ads, we kind of show them the Google ads, what's the strategy behind the Google ads, the creatives and the creatives on YouTube, for example. And then same thing. Yeah, so that essentially is the creative strategy that we'll create for all platforms for a brand, including email too. So we'll also work on the email, what pop-ups are we going to use, what kind of designs we're going to do for the email. So that in a nutshell is everything that we do before a brand even works with us.
Yeah, and for thanks for walking us through that, because for the people that are watching this, I think to be able to hopefully take this as inspiration for what they can do with their teams next week, right? What I mean by that is, hey, if we don't want to or can't work with an agency right now, see this process and be able to go, hey, have we been thinking about our brand the same? Have we been just showing up at work each day and just working on business as usual? If we want like a fundamental change, should we start are we looking at our creatives in this type of way, whether it's based off of awareness levels, like what Ray and D were talking about a few episodes ago, and also creative bricks, which is a bit more of a zoomed in version. And can we take those things and think about our creative and our advertising, the creative that goes into our advertising differently, and start coming up with some new concepts to then be able to test against certain awareness levels, and just rip what Ray showed in this video and do the same for ourselves, right? Do the same for ourselves. There's a lot of work that goes into this stuff. The helpful thing about us being able to do it is the fact that because it's a standardized process that all of our strategists go through before even onboarding a brand to go into to start working ongoingly with us, we have the processes here. That's the main difference, right? It's that for
processes, and also we have such a depth of other brands that we work with and have worked with that there's so many learnings we pull from them and conversion data that we have to apply what we know it works.
Yeah, exactly. And that's baked also into the process here at our agency. But then also, I think at most agencies, you would hope that they would have that part as well, which is they have the process, and then underneath that, it's all the mind share that occurs because you've got, like for us, for example, we've got various different brands, SKU male, SKU female, SKU towards children, towards pets, like all that, right? And then to be able to then go, how do we triangulate this and put it against this process? And maybe when people hear process, they think it's like a checklist A to Z, but it's more that there is a conveyor belt here that runs all the time and gets like the gears are already so lubed up because we're doing it all the time. We're constantly applying creative breaks. We're constantly thinking awareness levels. We're constantly looking at, there's a bit of fluency that comes with it. It's not like a month-long exercise because we have that fluency.
Someone asked me this morning, actually, with what you guys do, how much of it is playbooks oriented or just the people who do it are so good? right? And it's a really great question because, maybe some other agencies, like it's just the playbook is the same playbook, whereas other is like you're getting the elite mind share of the people. And it's a bit of both. For example, every time we make this, we do go through the playbooks that we know work, that are repeatable because we test them so many times. But then also, for example, we have a brand that we're currently in the process of doing this with, and there's 2 other people on our team who have had a lot of success in that exact same niche, very similar brand. And now we bring in the mind share of, okay, let's go over the strategy that we know that worked to scale that other brand. And so it's a bit of both the playbooks that we have documented, but also because we have such a deep bench of A players and experts that we also pull from their expertise as well to apply for the strategy.
Yeah. And I think this is a delicate balance. I'm so glad that you brought that question. Maybe we can reveal behind the curtain a little bit more here too. This is such a challenge for us running essentially an expert business or a consultancy, right? Like with a done for you component. The challenge being we need to have a bench, a roster of bright minds who also have experience. In other words, A players, right? But they're not really truly, at least to our definition, fully right hook A players unless they can take all those smarts and brightness, experience, and knowledge and fit it into some type of standard experience when anyone comes to the right hook hotel. Right, you don't want a hotel where, like, on this level, on this floor, and on the 5th floor and on the 8th floor, it's a completely different hotel because each one is run by a different person. Right, it has to have some level of, well, you can expect that when you stay at this hotel, this is the experience across the board, and small little personal flourishes here and there, but it's not radically different. Right. So hence the playbooks ground us in that way. And then the smart people constantly, that playbook is constantly evolving as well. But it's such a challenge because, we've been in those scenarios before where we hired the bright people, but really didn't honor the standard part as much. And so it was kind of like, well, if you go with this person, they run with this style, and go with that person, run with this style. So then really it's a collection of...
You can't do that.
Individuals, which becomes very confusing and conflicting, I think, for clientele too.
Let's say, so you mentioned playbooks. It's both the playbooks and, for example, the system, like our sprint system, our creative strategy system, how we produce those things. It's both. It's the playbooks that we've done so many times. Here's literally like from A to Z how to execute the exact same thing, or landing pages, the 5 landing pages that always crush for this niche, as well as the system that we've proven that creates those winners as well. So it's a bit of both. Yeah. But it's funny, you mentioned something, and you mentioned that when we hire an A player, they come into Right Hook, it doesn't mean they're an A player. I did a calculation. We've hired over 80 marketers, since we've been in business. Without fail, any A player externally, they come into Right Hook, they are not an A player. Right off the bat, they have not only that they have to earn their way there, but we operate at such a level that there's always a huge learning curve they have to go through to operate at our level. That's why I tell everyone, when you come to Right Hook, you will grow more in 6 months than you have anywhere else. Like, that's just the level that we play at. It's really funny you said that because I had an interview. Someone's like, I'm an A player. I'm like the best in my class in my current agency. And I'm like, yeah, dude, you're gonna be like the bottom of the barrel here because our people operate at this level now. Right.
And I mean, it's also, I mean, it's disorienting for anyone coming in because of how, like, it's almost like the great humbling when they first come in, because they're getting thrown terms, and, we work in such an odd way with, like, we talk about like lean principles and A3 problem solving and PDCA. So it's like, most marketers would be like, what does this even matter? Like, this is dumb. Just let me sling ads and let me, like, put up landers and stuff like that. So I totally... But
it's those things that you've helped us make a lot of those. It's the enabler to allow us to play the game at this level and to have the same repeatable success across every team.
Right. Exactly. To have those enablers so that you're not in here and having to just count on your own smarts, because then you might as well be on your own, right? Like if you go into any organization and you have to count on your own smarts, then really you're an island within the company, as opposed to leaning on one another so your smarts like keep going. Otherwise, you just have to count on YouTube and going to conferences and all that stuff on your own. You don't get any of the other benefit of being part of a team, which I think also is such a that's what I love about our team. The fact that we have like get-togethers once a week, and it's just nerding out with one another, being able to poke holes, ask questions, debate. Something that my wish is to be able to make that a public invite for people to be able to join.
Is that a tease?
Well, or that's me putting it out there so that our team like can actually pull it together and actually make it happen. We'll see how that goes.
If you want that, comment. If we get 100 comments, we'll do it. So
yeah, totally. I would love to make that happen, just to get our team to get out of their shell a bit more, because I know how, for them, some of them showing up on this stuff is just a bit intimidating. But if you're nerding out with your pals, I figure you're just nerding out with your pals. And if there are people that join us and want to pose questions, it's also a really great way to just interface and just nerd out together. It just, could be a fun time. But they'll get into their heads about it. We'll see how that goes. Who knows?
It'll be fun. It's worth a try.
Yeah, man. Dude, thanks for talking us through that. Hopefully this is helpful for you. To get the whole picture, please make sure that if you haven't caught up already, I mean, we're like 16 minutes in, but to get the whole picture, please watch the previous one as well as this one. It's not really that crucial that you watch the previous one first and then this one, because this one's mainly about creative. The previous one was mainly around the nerdy numbers side of things. You put those two things together, it's almost like left brain, right brain, got the whole brain, to then be able to make some fundamental change in your brand, right? To be able to get the breakthroughs that we are all seeking in our businesses. Keep doing what you're doing. You're going to keep getting what you got. So if you want that breakthrough, what are the changes that need to be made? Because you just have to focus on one. That's all you got to do. Just focus on one. You can't boil the ocean. You just got to focus on that one.
You only need one too. One breakthrough.
Exactly. It's kind of like Christmas lights. You start and then you just focus on that one knot. You can't do all of them at the same time. Before you know it, your house is all lit up and it looks beautiful. But that's how you got to do it. Sweet. Awesome. Let's good time to end it here. Ray, I really appreciate you for doing that.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, man. Can't wait for the next one. See you, everyone.
All right. See ya.